Piece of the planet, you know what it is. Adisa Banjoko chilling live and direct in the Bay, and I have an old friend and mentor and so many other things. Here on Gracie of Gracie University. He's a head instructor there. He is, unquestionably like a modern icon of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and MMA now. Coached many champions, himself a champion. Hiron, thank you for making time to be on Bishop Chronicles today.
Thank you, and thanks for calling me a champion. It reminds me of my father. He always called me a champion.
Well, you were from the first day I met you, man, and I'm still like I get goosebumps thinking about that first time being in Torrance to interview your family for Rap Pages magazine. That was like so long ago. I think it was 1998, but I think we did the initial interview tail end of 97. I was already training at House, and your grandfather Helio was so animated and funny and um, skilled, and I was blown away by it. And it was that day that I decided I was going to do jujitsu forever. Like
That's
I was already
cool.
training with House, but I was like, I want to be like him when I'm 86.
Yeah, he was a great example.
He was such a great example. And I actually realized even then, because I was 27, 28 at the time, I'm 55 now, I knew that choosing forever meant foregoing other things. Meaning that because I was 28, like I didn't have any MMA aspirations, but that would be out the window. I also assumed that that would mean that probably being a world champion or whatever, I could compete, but I wasn't going to be, a higher level guy, but that by doing it forever, I would have fun, I would be healthy, and both those things have
Community
come true.
and community. You'd have
Yeah,
community.
community was like, I mean, I
Yeah.
was just getting exposed to that aspect of it and not yet knowing. I mean, I don't think I was training 4 months with Half at that time. You know what I mean? And so I was still kind of getting used to everything. But man, it's just been such a great journey. And you were a young green belt with a boot on your leg at the time. You were healing up from something, and you were kind enough to translate some things. The woman photographer there, she had done some translating because she was Brazilian, and then you took over, and I just really appreciate so much of the wisdom and the character that you brought to jujitsu as
Thank
it
you.
evolved. Recently they had the Gracie 100, and was that in Rio? What city was that in?
In Rio, we had a 100-year celebration. The Gracie family started teaching in 1925. So in 2025, we had a huge gathering. It was like a 3-day event for the Gracie family. People that are born into the Gracie family. There was a Thursday night, like go to the Christ Redeemer
Yeah.
statue, and there was some photos taken at that statue. The following night, Friday evening, this was like the event was the family dinner. So it was like a private family dinner, probably 103, 107 people. And then there was on the fall third day, Saturday was a seminar, and we got like 25, 26 black belts from within the family, all Gracies, and they all shared technique. And the mat space was amazing. There was probably total, I think, 804 people checked in because it was a
Wow.
very check-in process with wristbands and so on.
Mhm.
So 804 people on the mat, including the Gracie family. Probably 70 were family members that were just hanging out, spouses and kids and so on. So it was really nice. It was probably right at capacity. We closed, I guess, ticket sales and entry a day or two before because we thought to ourselves, wow, we're in trouble. We have a certain amount of mat space, and with 700 plus people registered, we need to slow down.
No, man, that is just simply fantastic, man. And so, can you tell me what did it feel like when you arrived, and then how did you feel when you left?
When
When
I arrived to
to
the
to Rio
family
to
gathering.
do it, yeah, yeah, yeah. And then how did you feel like getting off the plane? Like, okay, I'm here to,
Got it.
you know what I'm
So
saying? And then
arriving,
when you got back to leave, what were you feeling
yeah,
after experience?
arriving in Brazil. Brazil is it's the wild, wild west, right? It's a wild world, and I don't even really understand how wild Brazil is. like
Mm.
my father understands, or people who actually lived in Brazil. I've been
Right.
many times, but I'm kind of naive because just a tall guy. I'm a black belt. I run around with my board shorts on, and I got money, so life
Yeah.
is great for me. But it's a really tough country, and Rio is heavy, and there's a lot happening. But at the same time, it's where everything started for the Gracie family and jiu-jitsu. So it was very important that that event happened in Brazil. My sister Hiani, she was like, "Hey, it has to be in Brazil." And I was
Yeah.
like, you know what? You're right. I was thinking somewhere in Colorado and some resort
Yeah.
somewhere,
Right.
you know. So she was right, and it was very special. So getting there, obviously, the sights, the sounds, the smells of Brazil, I very much appreciate. It's nostalgic for me. I spent so much time with my grandfather in Brazil, multiple trips, at 15 years old, 13 years
Mm.
old, 17, 18, 19, like just spending anywhere from like a week or two to like 6 months
Right.
with my grandfather, just even just the driving on the highways.
Yeah.
I've probably driven on the highway with him more than anybody else.
Oh,
And just the
wow.
conversation. So I'm leaving the airport. I'm getting picked up at the airport 17 years ago by my grandfather, 25 years ago, and now I'm getting picked up by a private car. But
Yeah.
still, I'm remembering like, wow, this is it.
Yeah.
So, and then the fact that I know so many people in our family kind of put all the BS aside. And they said, you know what? We're going to come together because even though I might have a little bit of drama with this person or that person, I see the bigger picture of celebrating 100 years of our family doing jujitsu. So on
Yeah.
my flight, like as I was arriving and we're on layovers and
Yeah.
on my flight, there are family members.
Right.
And
Wow.
Halston was on my flight.
No, he was. Oh
Yeah,
man,
so
you
it's
know how
like,
much I love
what?
him, man.
And then my niece Stephanie was on my flight, my sister Rose's daughter. So these things are, and then there's students on the flight from Hawaii and from Wisconsin and from different parts of the country. They're coming on the layover. Everyone's like, "Hey, you're going to Brazil?"
What's
Yeah.
up? Yeah.
So it's like this. We're all going to this same event, and then you arrive in the hotel, and at the airport, you see other people coming from other. We just came in from Chicago or coming from Florida. We train at a Half Gracie school in Chicago. We train with so and so. So it was that kind of energy getting
That
into
is
it, which was
beautiful,
so
man.
hype, and I loved it. And then of course I get to the hotel lobby. There's more people. I see my cousins. I run into Hollies and Igor. So it's like, yes, it's coming together, and it's been 2 years, 2.5 years being talked about and little
Mm.
conversations and small battles because, like I
I can
said,
imagine that was very hard. My family is small, and we can barely get everybody together. I can't
yeah.
imagine a family that big with that much, all those different reputations and
Hmm.
histories and arguments about histories and who did what and whatever. Like that had to be harder than anything else to pull it together.
And the cool part is that, remember, it wasn't everybody,
Right, this is true.
but I didn't feel like anybody was missed.
Right.
So there was people that weren't there that I said, oh, so and so's not here. But I was more about who was there. And that was a
Hmm.
constant reminder to a few people that were involved with me in helping
Mm.
create this. There were like 6 or 7 people that were instrumental in the family and outside the family in making this happen. And I had to remind them, like, it doesn't matter if the dinner is only 78 of us. Forget about who's not coming. Think about who is coming. And that was like the theme of this event. And when I had like 10 or 12 cousins that were with me from the beginning, I
Yeah.
knew even if 12 of us showed up, it was going to be a great event.
Yeah, that's a beautiful perspective, and I think that's the best way to do it. And like everybody's family has whatever going on, but I'm always a believer that it's better to try to be together and acknowledge each other and share that love and camaraderie than to hold on tighter to, you know what I mean, whatever your issue might be. You know what I mean? So that's really beautiful, man. I commend all
That's a lot of cool.
I really wanted to go. I couldn't, but I really, really wanted to go to that, and it seemed so amazing. And so when you headed back, did you learn anything about your family? Did you learn anything about either the history or even just a family member? Like I didn't know that about them.
So I spent a week there doing kind of family events and, visiting family schools in Rio, jiu-jitsu schools. And then I spent a week with my family on vacation, 3 hours away in some beach town. And then I flew back. And I would say that like the things that really stuck with me was just the importance of being able to adjust your relationship with people.
Mm,
So there might be somebody that's like, it could be your brother, a cousin, an uncle, it could be your father, mother, anybody. Like you might have this relationship. And then things happen, life happens, and your ability to adjust your relationship versus completely throwing it away.
mm,
So, like, you don't have to let the person stay in your home during the holidays. You don't have to let them borrow $10,000, but you can still see them. You can still give them a hug.
right.
You can still, if they call you and, they want to share something about what they're working on, you can still listen to them. You don't have to shut
Yeah.
them out 100%. So that flexibility with the people in your lives, I think that'll really heal the world because people are very cutthroat, and even the Gracie family, even my grandfather, I remember like kind of like if once you do me wrong, I'm done with you.
You're out.
Which that's a tricky thing, I feel like that's a little bit harsh in the world that we're living in today.
It can
Um,
be. It
Once you
can
do me wrong, I learn
be.
how to now exist with you.
Manage
Like,
this.
yeah, if a snake bites me, you know what I mean? Like I have a pet snake and it bites me.
Right.
I don't like kill the snake or throw it in the backyard and get loose.
Lawn. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I keep the snake, but I pay attention to how I interacted with it. It's
Mhm.
possible that how I went in to grab it, maybe it hadn't eaten yet. Maybe I went in front of its face. Who
Right.
knows? So,
No, that's actually really powerful, man. Makes a lot of sense. Um, and so, the other thing that I wanted to talk to you about is um genuinely how much I appreciate your skill as a teacher. I think it was a year ago, maybe 2 years ago, when I saw you in Stockport at the Gracie. It was in the UK. Was that 2 years ago? 1 year ago? I don't
yeah, it
remember.
sounds about 2 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, it was about 2 years ago. So first of all, that was fun for me just because of after all the years of knowing you, I would be in your presence as a black belt, right? Just
In
all the time.
England.
Yeah, in England. Yeah, and that was
Random.
that was that was a big thing for me just because I always admired you, admired your family, and jiu-jitsu has taken me to places where I never thought I'd be, like England. And so to be able to see you, learn from you, and observe jiu-jitsu from the Torrance moment of 1997 to 2023 or whatever, that was just
Yeah.
fantastic, and thank you for allowing me to attend. I went up with Professor Stefan Zoll, and he's from Leeds, and I just had the best time. And but once again, like your ability to teach so much in a short period of time with so much details, like it's really a cut above so many. And I just wondered, like, um i- how much of that is you versus what you learned from your father and your grandfather, or different interactions with your brother? Like, how did you very few people have the skill and the skill to teach. I think those are two totally different worlds. I've known a lot of people that are incredible jujitsu players or MMA fighters who cannot teach. How did you become this way? Because it interests me as a teacher now.
Cool. Thank you for saying that. And it means a lot to me that you appreciate my teaching. And I grew up around great teachers. Excuse me. So you asked how much of it is my grandfather, my father,
Yeah.
my uncles. I guess it really highlights, I guess, where I am as a teacher.
Mm.
At least for me, it highlights the importance of being exposed to so many different teachers. Because
Right.
even though my grandfather, my father, my uncle Hoyce, and so many in between and around them were great teachers, um, everyone teaches you something. Everyone gives you something. So how much of it is me? How much of it is them? It's hard to say.
Yeah, probably,
But
huh?
I can't tell you how many things I do, and then when I do them, people will sometimes like say, "Hey, you know what? that's a you thing. Whether it's how I do jujitsu or how I teach. And
Right.
they think it's me. But I'm like, no, my grandfather did this.
Yeah.
My father did this.
Yeah.
So, of course, sometimes it can be tiring to have to explain over and over and over again, but I can't give enough credit to those guys that taught before me. And,
Right.
the idea of things being passed down through families, like it happens in
Yeah,
every
yeah, yeah.
part of the world, whether it's a farming family, you know, or a banking family or a jujitsu
True.
family. You pass what you know to your children. And now I'm here teaching my kids, and we're doing jujitsu last night, and I'm teaching them moves, and they're watching me teach. So they're listening to every word that I say, they're picking up my mannerisms. So I'm extremely grateful. And I've given myself permission to kind of like filter through the things that I saw my father do. That I'm
Right.
like, oh, I love this, but maybe there's two or three things that he might have done that I'm like, oh, that I don't know why you would say or do that. And I stopped
Mhm.
doing them. And I'm sure that there
Mhm.
are things that I'm doing that my kids are going to say, I don't know why my dad ever said that or did that way. And they're going to
Right.
adjust accordingly because the times are always changing. So
True.
yeah, I
True.
listen, I always grew up from my father. My father never made it this thing that I had to fight MMA. I've never fought MMA. I'm not a champion in the mixed martial arts world. I've done
Right.
jiu-jitsu matches and tournaments and I've won and that's just
Right.
for the game of jiu-jitsu and that's fun. But my father always emphasized the importance of being able to teach people because the position that we're in, the job that we have of teaching jiu-jitsu for everybody, of teaching jiu-jitsu as an art of self-defense, of teaching jiu-jitsu, but also teaching a little bit of the lifestyle and how to live respectfully, live
Mhm.
with health conscious mindset,
Mhm.
how to live a disciplined life. So teaching that jujitsu, that Gracie family, way of life is something that's so special that he just said, hey, don't just teach jujitsu and do a good job, and you're going to do great in life. And you have one of the best jobs in the world. And I could not agree. I could
Yeah,
not,
yeah, yeah.
not disagree with that, right? I
Yeah, it's great.
100% agree.
It's great.
Amazing. The opportunities I have, the people's lives that we touch, the places I get to go, and the
Yeah.
people I get to meet,
Right.
it's out of this world.
Yeah, I can't imagine because even at my much smaller level, I've got to meet amazing people. I've got to go great places. I've got to meet people that I don't think I would have ever met were it not for jujitsu. And some of these people have impacted my life in major ways that transcend jujitsu, that aren't even connected to jujitsu, right? And that stuff really blows my mind. Can I ask you this? Can you tell me a place you ended up or a person you met that you would have never thought you would have come across because of jujitsu?
Well, that's the thing is that I think because of jujitsu, I'm going to come across everybody. So
Mm,
I'm never surprised.
that's interesting.
Every time I meet somebody or I do something, I don't say like, wow, I can't believe this is happening. I say it makes perfect sense this is happening based
Right,
on
right, right.
based on what we do and
Hmm.
how we live our lives. It makes perfect sense that I'm crossing paths with this person right now.
I like that. I like that. That's really cool, man. Um, as we go, one of the things that I've been trying to convey to a lot of my students in recent months is that when they see me do a move and they like it and they think it's cool and they think it's very smooth, I always tell them, it's important that you know that when I first learned this, one, that there was a time when I didn't know it at all, and two, that I did it very poorly for quite a while. That
Yeah.
it wasn't, I didn't just, oh, and then I just turned and then there's the arm, right? Like it wasn't happening like that, right? And so I do that because I'm trying to humanize their experience as a student, right? And not be like, oh, look at the professor doing all this stuff. And, I can't even remember which arm grabs the wrist and which arm grabs the sleeve or whatever. And so, um, I find you to be, a very human instructor. Like, like some teachers, I think they lean into the I look amazing, I am amazing, I'm cool, watch me do this move. I think others are very kind of humanizing. What do you think are some of the characteristics maybe that make for a good jiu-jitsu instructor?
Yeah, you have to remember, you have to put yourself in the position of somebody who's experiencing their third class, their 10th class. It's very easy to forget what it was like when you started. For me, I was a kid, 6 years old, 3 years old, 9 years old. So when you have a new student that's on the mat who's 37 years old, 47 years old, and it's their first day, it's their second day, you have to speak to them and move with them like it's their first and second day.
Hmm.
Sometimes as jiu-jitsu instructors, we kind of like we just blend all the people together. And it's not uncommon for like a jiu-jitsu instructor who has a beginner class with like 7 or 8 beginners.
Right.
So they all have less than 2 months of training, less than 3 months. And then he has some more advanced people that 7 or 8 guys here. He merges the classes. Why teach for
Right.
2 hours when I can teach for an hour and a half? Merge. The problem is normally you cater to the more experienced people in the room, and then those that are very new get left behind. So, how you take care of the children of the mat, and that is the very new people, and that could be they could be actual kids, or
Yeah,
they
yeah,
could
yeah.
be
Or new adults.
47-year-olds that they are children in jujitsu.
Right.
And everything from how you respond to a question that they ask. If you tisk a little bit, if you exhale, that people pick up on everything. It's not just my 10-year-old child that notices all my body language and facial reactions. It's even my students. Because
Right.
remember, people are afraid of being embarrassed, they're afraid of being injured. So when they step on the mat and they're learning and they raise their hand and they ask for help, and I go like, I make a little face,
Right, right.
right? Which
And they're just
telling you,
inside.
crushing them. Because all people do all day is disqualify themselves as to why they can't do jujitsu, especially when they're 44, 52.
Yeah.
I'm too old. I work too
Right.
much. My schedule
Right.
doesn't allow it. It's too expensive. I might get
Right.
injured. I can't afford to get injured. They have all these reasons why they can't do jujitsu. So we have to be very careful and we have to protect this person because we know they can do jujitsu.
Hmm.
We know it's going to enhance their lives. So when they ask a question that in my mind, it's like, man, I've been asked that question, you know, 2,700 times in the last 10 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
But when I look at them and they ask the question, I'm like, hey, great question. It's a very common question, matter of fact. And yes, the reason why you do this is because of this.
Mm.
Try it out so you can see the difference. Try them both one time so you can really feel what we're teaching.
Yeah. Yeah.
Done.
No, I love that. I love that. I think that's a big deal. I always like I'll ask, though, does anybody have any questions? And everybody will sit there and then I'll be like, I'll let the silence sit for a minute. And then I'll be like, if you have a question, I need you to trust yourself and ask. Cause like my job is to help you learn, right? So I don't want you to be like, I'll be mad or people in the room will think that I'm dumb or whatever. If you need to know it, like I'm here for that. I want you to feel comfortable asking. There's no stupid question. And then eventually, okay, my shoulder like that or like lower and then okay, right? You know what I mean? I love that. I love that.
My father always said there are no good or bad students. There are only good or bad teachers.
Mhm.
So basically, that puts the burden on us. If you're not
Yeah.
figuring this out, if you're not understanding this,
Yeah.
it falls on us as
Yeah.
teachers. And then you
Yeah.
would say, because we're the best teachers in the world, you're going
Right.
to learn this stuff no matter what.
Yeah. No, man. I mean, and that's the deal, man. Like, um, I'm always, especially because I'm older, and I love teaching like all ages. Any like people sometimes they'll be like, oh, do you prefer teaching like 10-year-olds or do you prefer teaching adults? And I'm like, it never matters. That's how much I love teaching jujitsu. That there's no age. How 57, let's go. 62, let's go. 16, 6, I'm gonna be the same person in terms of my intention, in terms of my joy. Like I'm always gonna be that way. Um, I have a weird question, and I send you so much stuff and like I know you get bombarded. I can't imagine what your inboxes look like any given day of the week, like from any given device, if it's just email or just Instagram or whatever. But I had written this thing and it was comparing like philosophically schools of thought from like gi jujitsu and no gi, right? And so, do you have you read much Confucian stuff? I'm about to get weird. Okay. So Confucianism is a Chinese philosophy, and a lot of it had to do with like how society functions, right? How does society function? Okay. And then you have Taoism, which was more kind of a personalized way of living your life, right? Also a different philosophy. Okay. So you have Confucian and Confucius, Mencius, and stuff like that. And then you have like Lao Tzu created Taoism and all the other different Taoist scholars that come after him. And so, what because Confucian philosophy was more dealing with like society and how hierarchies work and protocols, it was naturally a bit more rigid. And then the Taoists were a little bit more um, less doctrinal, but and more open to what might be. And I had written this thing about how like Gracie Baja and Gracie University reflect more of a Confucian thing because you really keep the tradition in order. You know what I mean? You don't let people forget who did what, why. These are the belt ranks. This is how we present ourselves. And Gracie Baja, I feel, is quite similar. And I was thinking that like the more open-ended stuff seems to be expressed in the no-gi space. Um, I mean, 10th Planet is kind of a big umbrella for the no-gi discussion, at least in America, right? Of course, there was no-gi happening like long before Eddie Bravo was even being born. But what I'm saying is, um, do you feel like that is a fair assessment of these kinds of jujitsu? And does it bother you that they're seen as separate? Because it bothers me. To me, it's all jujitsu.
Yeah, I don't think that. Do you mean no gi and gi being
Yeah,
separate?
yeah, gi and no gi. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I don't see them as two separate. Um, the
Yeah, me
idea
either.
the idea of 10th planet of the no gi world being the world that is more on that side of I guess free flowing and
Yeah,
maybe
yeah,
to the structure of things. I don't think that's true. I think even gi schools and gi organized people schools that train in gi are also starting to do that as well. I think that has to do with kind of like because Gracie Baja and Gracie University, as well as maybe a Pedro Sauer affiliation
yeah,
or a Hoist Gracie network, you
yeah.
know, they're very close to the beginning. There still are people
Totally.
that are tied to those organizations, like I learned directly from my father and my
Right.
grandfather, and those are the guys that put it on the map,
Yep.
you know?
Yep.
So I think as you start to tear away from,
The center.
I don't want to say it's not even the center or the source, but I guess it's kind of, yeah, the source without ownership because the Gracies don't own jujitsu. But yeah, the kind of like where it started, where it exploded, then yes, it starts to become more in that, you said the Taoist,
Taoist. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, way of things. And I can see that. And I don't think that that's a problem at all.
Right.
And I appreciate people having their own, you know, I guess creating their own feel and their own culture around their jujitsu school or their organization or their city. I think that, if you go back far enough, we're all connected.
100%.
And that's what you're saying is that it's all the same. But we're in a world right now where being the same is not what's cool.
It's so true, right?
You
Yeah.
need to be different.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
all about being different. So, I just saw a video the other day of like 5 or 6 people, Eddie Bravo being one of them.
Mm.
And it was like an AI generated video of these 6 people who have created this style of jujitsu that
Okay.
is specifically something that they do, but it
Okay.
can be a little bit taxing on their bodies. And I
Mm.
think Eddie Bravo might have knee problems. I don't
Right.
know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He's had a couple surgeries for sure.
Yeah, so I don't know what his knee health is right now or his back. But that was kind of like the energy. Like
Right.
he's the king of the rubber guard, let's
Right,
say,
right,
and
right, right.
destroys everybody, but it comes at a cost. So, and that's what I mean. Like, not only are you unique in like how your school is, but even in how you do jujitsu. Like everybody
Right,
wants to do a move. Like they want to create a move and they want to become the best at it. And there's the choke, the buggy choke.
right, right, right.
It really seems to be the thing that's happening over the last year or
Yeah, yeah,
so.
yeah.
And there have
Totally,
been
totally.
some very shocking submissions, and I
Yeah.
think that that's cool. And I hope that the buggy choke, there are not too many, negative. I don't think it can be too injurious to the
No,
person.
no, definitely not. Actually,
I think
I'll
it's
send you
pretty
a
safe.
link. I had the guy that made it. He's a Half Gracie student and Half Gracie Berkeley, and I had him on once. But yeah, yeah, yeah. No, it's a
So,
cool thing.
but the point being, you need to be different. You need to be unique, and that's the time that we're in. And listen, I appreciate different and unique. But because of what I learned from my grandfather and my father and my uncles, and because of how much it did for me and how powerful it is, and how today every day I get to see when I teach it or when I train with somebody, whether it's training with gloves on and I'm fighting or I'm grappling, I get to feel and appreciate the effectiveness of what I was taught from those that came before me all the time. So
Yeah.
me going and being something different and unique, even though it always exists in the back of my mind, and there might be small little bits of creativity that I have, I can't help but go back to this amazingness
Mm.
that was passed down.
Yeah. No, that makes perfect sense, man. That makes perfect sense. Um, Now, can I learn a little bit about your personal journey in jujitsu? Because I can still only imagine, I mean, I've talked to you a lot over the years. I've talked to Halleck over the years, Henner not as much. But I can imagine that the stress of being a Gracie boy had its moments, when you're just growing up trying to do your thing and people know, oh, your uncle fights or your dad created the UFC or whatever. And then even just as a student, that sometimes that would be frustrating because maybe there's a person in the gym who's really good. Maybe they're better than you in some way or from some position. Can you talk a bit about maybe positional or technical struggles that you had maybe in your earlier belts at like maybe blue or purple or maybe even white, and kind of um what you had to do within to kind of overcome those obstacles.
Interesting question. There were not as many obstacles as I think most people have,
mm,
even most people in my family.
mm,
So other Gracie family members who did not have the exposure to my grandfather, it was all timing. I was very fortunate that my grandfather was, 82 years old when I
right.
was 16
Yeah, yeah,
or 18 or
yeah,
something like
yeah, yeah,
that.
yeah,
He's 80, I'm 14. Like
yeah,
it was,
yeah, yeah.
it was a very, it was perfect timing in the sense that not too many people wanted to spend time with him on the mat. A few people did. Maybe some students here or there would be excited.
Yeah.
But when you're an 80-year-old man and you have grandchildren and you tell yourself, yep, I want to teach my grandkids something, you go teach them something. And maybe I wasn't even really like, I don't know about this today. I'm 15. I'm not trying to hang out with this 80-year-old. But fortunately, at that age, like I said, 13, 14, 15, when my grandfather would pull us aside and teach us jujitsu, he always taught us the jujitsu. He always taught us the things that he knew would not come very naturally. So naturally, I would be a tall kid, a big kid.
Right.
Naturally, I would be 19 one day and I would have good arm bars and triangles and a tough
Mm,
guard to pass. And I would just go after people in terms of trying to submit them. But what I wouldn't learn and really perfect is how to be on my back and how to stay safe against somebody who outweighs me by 60 pounds, 100
right,
pounds.
right.
But because so much of my grandfather's jujitsu, right, was based on his ability to survive giants because he always fought people that were much bigger, heavier, and stronger than him.
For sure.
He's not trying to fight somebody who's smaller than him. He's trying to demonstrate to the world how effective jiu-jitsu is.
Right.
So much of his jiu-jitsu was founded in survivability. So he always pulled us aside and taught us these very, survival skills.
Mm-hmm.
So when they're 15, 16, learning these things, 17, 18, 19, and then one day you hit, 19, 20, 21 years old, you get a black belt. And even throughout that process of when I was a purple belt and so on, I never felt like I was in a lot of danger, or I never felt like stressed out when I landed in positions, especially
Right, 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 right,
inferior
right, right.
positions, especially the bottom positions.
Right, like bottom side or being mounted, whatever.
Yeah, so I was very lucky to kind of grow up. Like wherever you are, it's okay. Just pay attention to what your opponent is trying to do. And when the time is right, you defend it. When the time is right, you escape the position, you advance the position, and then you do your game from the top, or you attack from wherever you can.
Yeah.
So, you know, again, I can't emphasize how lucky I was to be the age that I was when my grandfather was 82 years old. Because I could have been, I don't know, 29.
Right.
And a 29-year-old might not be as excited or might have,
The receptivity.
well, not the receptivity, but they might have the ability to just say, no, I can't do it, I'm busy, and they're not available. Whereas as a 14-year-old, I'm kind of like my mother and my father are like, no, you're going to do class with your grandpa. And when you're 14, you don't have any say. But when you're 29, you're out working, you're married, you have kids,
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
starting your
yeah.
life. So,
Yeah.
Grandpa, I can't play with you in the garage right now. I can't play with you in this private room. So it was perfect, and I'm so grateful. And it's a jujitsu that once again people will see me and they'll spar with me and they'll say, yeah, the way you're doing this. It's like no one does this. This is like a thing that you do, and I'm like, no, this is something that my grandfather did. My father's
Mhm.
done for many years.
Mhm.
I felt my father do it against me, like.
Right, 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 right.
So don't give me credit for this amazingness. This is way beyond me.
Yeah. No, that's really powerful, man. That's really powerful. Um,
But I would say one
mm,
thing about the struggle is that generally speaking, when I ask groups of people, I ask people like, hey, how do you feel in this position or that position? Or what position do you feel least comfortable in? Most people that are newer in jiu-jitsu, especially the first 5, 7 years, they have something like, you know what? I don't like being here.
right.
I don't feel comfortable in this position or here. And I always remind them to pause for a moment and let's talk about this.
Mm,
If you don't like when you're on the bottom of side mount or being in people's guard, that's something you need to figure out sooner than later because you're going to be in people's guard or bottom of side mount for the rest of your jiu-jitsu life. So how do you figure it out? And most people's answer for the position that they don't like is to escape the position. And I agree that escaping is part of dealing with the position. But the other part is knowing how to be in the position, how to survive it. I was at a jiu-jitsu school in North Carolina, Charlotte, North Carolina, about 2 years ago. And I visited a school. I think it was like it was a Carlson Gracie slash, just changing affiliations, I forgot.
mm,
But cool guys, super tough
right.
kids, great energy. I went and rolled with four of my friends. We showed up and we trained with a bunch of guys. And this purple belt came to me after I taught the class. The instructor who was the black belt, he said, "Hey, do you want to teach something?" And I taught some guard defensive strategies. And this kid came to me after. He was a purple belt, probably been training for 6, 7 years. He said, "Hey, don't I realized today that I have not been learning defense
Mm,
for the last 6 years.
mm,
He has learned how to use his, probably 26 years old, his athleticism
right.
to get out from underneath people to
Yep.
avoid being submitted.
Yep.
He's learned to have amazing posture and break people's guard and get out of the
Right.
guard, avoid guard. But he hasn't really learned defense. Now, is great posture and fighting away defense? Yes, but that's not what he meant. He meant defense in how I taught it, where I don't even have to have great posture. I don't have to break your guard. What I have to
Right.
do is have, inside hand positioning.
Inside
I
control.
need to be aware of where your hands are. I need to be aware of the angles you're creating, of how I can take away the angles you're creating, how my full presence, right? And with nothing else but just watching you and defending you, I can really complicate your attacks. And then by
Yeah.
doing that for 30 seconds or a minute and a half, it's only a matter of time before an opportunity to pass the guard is given to me. And now the guard pass becomes 10 times easier because you waited for the right time.
Yeah. No, I think that yeah, that's no, that's exactly the way. And I also feel like I think there's a lot of wisdom to what you're saying about the time in which you come into jujitsu and how you do it. And I think there's also a lot about, the emphasis on athleticism in jujitsu, I think over the last 10 years has never been bigger. It's crazy. And I don't even know if you remember this, but back when I was a purple belt, I was really frustrated. We were talking on the phone. I was actually visiting my parents. I remember I was sitting in the house and you could tell my frustration. And you were like, yeah, man, when you start getting older, that's when you really start learning jujitsu because you don't have the strength and the power. You don't have, the athleticism that you used to have. And that's when knowing the moves, knowing the techniques, and knowing the principles that allow you. And I remember what a pucha kind of moment that was in my brain. And I immediately rededicated myself to understanding what I thought I knew. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you know, there are so many things that guys are doing these days to stay in jujitsu, whether it's like TRT or the explosion of peptides, which is good. It seems like for healing and stuff like that. I don't think there's like a high advantage to peptides, just other than like you know joint help and stuff like that. I have a degenerative thing in my knees. It's not lit. But I mean, that's just genetics, whatever. But I see guys like doing a lot of different stuff and like I definitely don't condemn it at all and I don't judge it. I think there was a time when I did like 2 years ago I might have been feels like cheating. But these days, no matter what you're doing, I think if you're not learning jujitsu it's not going to be as helpful as you think, right? You still
Yeah.
need to be learning the technique, learning the principles as they are necessary for the journey.
It's interesting because if you rely on, like you said, all these things that you have to do to keep you doing jujitsu, to keep you kind of up to date with that explosive jujitsu that you talked about, it's okay, but you're going to become more and more codependent on these things.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I guess it's kind of like beauty, like the beauty industry, right? Like there are people that will go to any length to continue to look like they have no wrinkles,
Right.
or they have perfect hair, or their
Right.
lips, or their bodies. Like there is no limit to what some men and women will do, especially when you're in the industry,
Of
because you
course.
want to keep the look that got you where you are.
Right. Right.
And especially, I mean, social media, like there are some women on social media, like I come across some pages sometimes, and I'm like, wow, this woman is beautiful.
Right.
But we're figuring out more and more that we have no idea what they're doing behind the scenes to look like that. We're
Yeah.
trained, we're programmed to like, that's what beauty is. That's
Yeah.
Hollywood, right?
Yeah.
So when it comes to jujitsu, when people do, you know, everything under the sun to keep themselves up to par, I think that's okay. But one day it's going to crash.
It always does, man.
And the interesting part is that, like for example, I've never done. I don't even take vitamins. You know what I mean? I don't
Right.
take any supplements. I just went to an event over here. It's called the Eudaimonia Summit.
Yeah.
It was in Florida. Palm Beach, Florida. Amazing event, talking about peptides,
Yeah, yeah,
about everything that men and women are dealing with, and how to live longer, live better, live healthier. And I love it. It's a great idea for an event. And we
right,
talk jiu-jitsu there, Henner and I. But I don't like, I should probably take creatine. I'm not taking creatine yet.
right, right, right.
Everyone talks about how great creatine is.
Creatine's pretty good, bro. I ain't a front.
I've
Yeah,
heard it many times. But I've still like just lived this life where I go in a sauna, I go for walks, I have chickens, I eat their eggs.
right.
You know, I love vegetables. I eat salads with no dressing, maybe olive oil sometimes.
Yeah, yeah,
I don't eat ranch dressing. I don't put
yeah,
sauce on my food. I eat a burger with no sauce. I eat
yeah.
grass-fed beef. So I try to just eat normal foods
Clean. Yeah,
and I move my body. But the point being, I'm not taking anything, but how I do jujitsu allows me to do jujitsu every day. I can do jujitsu 5 days a week, no problem, 6 days
yeah.
a week. I can spar every other day. I spar with
Right,
19-year-olds that are purple belts,
right.
50-year-olds. I spar people who outweigh me by 100 pounds.
And how old are you now? Because you've looked the same age for so long. I don't know.
I'm 43.
Okay.
So I do jujitsu in a very like defensive, very slow, controlling way. I
Right,
don't, and I was not explosive when I was 24. Now, there was moments where I would behave very explosively because I'm training for something and I'm having
right,
fun. But my default has always been a very passive, safe, defensive jujitsu.
right.
And my lifestyle, like how I live my life and how I eat and how I sleep, it kind of matches that.
Yeah, I
So
understand.
I'm very grateful that my grandfather, being like the big example that he was always very basic and very simple. And I think that the world is going in this way of like all kinds of different supplements beyond
More
supplements to supplements.
complexity. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I think it will swing back to hold on. You don't need to take,
25 of these.
yeah, maybe there are some things that we probably can't deny that
Yeah,
there's
yeah,
been
yeah.
great science. Like you said, creatine might be one of those things.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like, but I heard somebody say, like, if your body makes it, don't take it.
That's interesting.
Huberman said that, which is
You know
cool.
what's funny? I definitely feel that way, and I've had so many different conversations around TRT, but that's been one of the main reasons why I've stayed away from anything that messes with your male hormones. Because I'm like, you know, if your body can turn off, like, oh, you have it. What am I doing? I'll go to sleep now. Right? Now you're stuck on this. That's the stuff that like makes me stay away.
Mm,
You know what I mean? Like,
yes.
that's a really interesting thing, you know. I The thing that I've also been kind of struggling with philosophically, it's interesting that we're having this conversation is because I've been like, when I see all of these things, because I take a few multivitamins and I take creatine and another one called L-glutamine. L-glutamine is for recovery. You know what I mean? And it's really good for recovery. And these are what I say like lightweight. They don't have like, major side effects include, right? Like you don't have that with like creatine or L-glutamine. Those are my main two. But like um I feel like because technology and world culture is becoming so advanced, by not taking this, that, or the third, am I letting the power of now pass me by holding on to whatever? Because in my mind, I'm like, well, Helio Gracie didn't take TRT. Miyamoto Musashi didn't take peptides, right? And so that's what's kept me from taking so many things, right? Unless I feel like for some reason I am probably, you know, clearly deficient. You know what I mean? I struggle with this idea of modernity. Like I don't want to be like in my day we didn't take creatine and not take it if it's actually a helpful tool. I don't want to ignore peptides if they can help my knees just because it's new and it's such a as an older jiu-jitsu person this is a an interesting time.
Yeah, there are so many things that I have no doubt could be very good for you. And then there are things that I believe we don't need and might even be counterproductive,
Right.
but they're being sold as good for you.
Yeah.
So it's a time right now where not only is everybody trying to be unique in jujitsu, but everyone's trying to sell something. So there's a lot of options out there. Now, I don't know anything about anything when it comes to supplements. I barely understand creatine. My
Right.
wife takes it and she
Right.
suggested it. You just
Yeah.
suggested
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
So you just got to be careful when everybody does something. Like, part of me is like, hey, hold on.
Yeah, me too. I'm the same way. If everybody's really like, like I'm the type of person when a movie comes out and everybody loves it, I won't go. I'm
Yeah.
like, we'll wait until the hype dies down and I'll check it out and see. Right. Like, so how shouldn't I should be the same way about what goes in my body if I'll be that way about a film. So let's talk about this eudaimonia event. I am a lover of stoicism. I consider myself like an aspiring stoic, not a practicing stoic, because it's so hard to learn all this stuff and really be as centered as one might hope or whatever. But I was really happy to see that you were doing it. I started reading on stoicism about 6 or 7 years ago, and I like went deep into the wormhole. I found it very very helpful for me in many ways. Could you talk about that event and talk about what was happening and what did you see there?
So the event was at a hotel. They had a huge convention center, and they had, like, in the middle they have a bunch of vendors and sponsors and all kinds of products. And I probably 80 to 100 booths, and everybody was selling something,
Right,
whether
right,
it's a blood test or a body scan or a
right,
supplement or an infrared sauna that you can,
right.
travel with. Everything about living a better life. I probably walked through that convention in about 4 minutes.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
didn't stop anywhere.
Right, you're just like zoop, zoop.
I
Yeah.
just walked through, and again, I have a hard time buying when everybody's trying to sell me something. Now, obviously, I sell jujitsu, and I
Right.
think everybody should do jujitsu.
Right, right,
But
right.
everybody is running towards jujitsu.
Right. True.
I don't think you should question whether or not you should run towards jujitsu because everybody's running towards jujitsu.
This is true.
So there
Very true.
are there are exceptions to my rule,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, 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 yeah.
Um, but to the event, the convention, and then they had maybe like 12 or 15 different rooms, and they had different speakers throughout the day. And some people were doing fitness, some people were doing meditation.
Okay.
You know, Dr. Andy was there talking about, different things in science and how, technology going forward can help us. There's really cool things.
It's cool.
Holly Berry was speaking on things when it comes to,
Um,
women's, the menstrual cycle and
mhm.
everything that women go through. So all kinds of interesting speakers. I listened to like maybe like 5 or 6 different talks. I went in and listened a little bit. I appreciated these talks, and it's a very busy schedule, so people kind
Yeah,
of pick where they want to go. It can be overwhelming if you want to see everything. I did
yeah,
not feel the pressure to see everything. I listened to, like I said, 5 or 6.
yeah.
We taught some jujitsu classes to people who probably never would have done jujitsu who wasn't for this event.
Right. That's
You
always
know,
fun.
and these groups are anywhere from, like, 30 to 40 people listening to a talk, all the
Mhm.
way to like a couple hundred if it's like a keynote big speaker. Like you have Andrew Huberman speaking. I didn't go to his talk. I took a nap because I
Right,
had
right.
to go do something after. But he has great information, and he's an
He
amazing,
is just great, bro.
on fire. So he has a huge following listening to him.
And he does he train? Did you? I was told that he does jujitsu.
Yeah, he tried one class. He said we talked to him a little bit after the
Okay.
event on the way out, and he wants to do jujitsu. Obviously, he's a very busy person,
Yeah, yeah, I can
and
imagine.
he does a lot. But I think he appreciates jujitsu very much so, and I think that he will slowly start to make his way towards it.
I
You
feel
know,
like that too.
yeah,
Yeah.
it only makes sense. Like I said, everybody's doing it, and if you
Yeah.
can find a location, a school, an instructor, a community that can protect you, that can train with you in a safe way. And the cool part is that more than ever, people are jumping on this idea that you can create a safe training environment. You can help each other. You don't have to kill each other because
Yeah.
everybody who kind of pushed hard training 25 years ago can't train hard anymore.
Yeah,
So
at
now
all or at all.
or at all. So now everybody's like, oh yeah, we need to make sure that there are no bullies in our
Just
gym.
turn it down.
We need to turn it down and be safer. But they're saying it because it's what they need to stay on the map. They're
Yeah.
not saying it because they truly believe it. So when I said 20 years ago, like, you guys, let's be a little more playful. Let's help each other. Don't fight to always dominate and crush people. Let yourself be on the defensive. I got shot down a little bit.
Yeah, I remember those days, and I agreed with you. I agreed with you
There you
then.
go. So it's cool how it's all turning around. So these people who came to this event, Eudaimonia, and
Yeah.
who did a little jujitsu, I believe many of them, the purpose of us teaching jujitsu there was that they walked away with a different story of what it means to do
To
jujitsu.
do jujitsu, yeah.
And then they seek that out at jujitsu schools wherever they live, because people came from all over. People from all over
Yeah.
the world came to this event. So now go back, find a school that has a beginner program, find a school that is clean, find a school that really, takes the time to teach you. An instructor who's patient, an instructor who's not going to get angry with you if you ask a
Yeah.
basic question, right? So
Totally.
it was a
No,
very
man.
cool event. I would like to go again. It's not a it's like how you go on vacation sometimes, but you book your vacation and you do too many fun things and then you're exhausted.
Yeah, 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 yeah. It's kind of that can happen.
This event, you have to be very careful because it's supposed to be like rejuvenating and you learn stuff. But if you're running from talk to talk, it starts at, let's just say, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. And then they have like these, they have like a silent DJ where you wear the headphones.
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah,
You have
yeah.
these events in the evening time where people are going to dinner parties and stuff. So it's like an all day thing. So it can be very draining.
Yeah.
And I think that there's something to be said about going to an event like this, but like I did, for example, allowing yourself to go back to the hotel room
And
and
just
just sleep for an hour and a half, from 1 to 3:30, or 1 to 2:30,
out.
and you miss a couple talks, but then you come back and you're like, you're there.
Present, you know what I mean? So I got two final questions, man. Two final questions. The first of the two final questions is, and I've been trying to learn more about the ecological method of jujitsu. Greg Souders, has a lot of drilling based stuff, and you know, I feel like the way that I learned from Half Gracie, from Charles, and from Gumby has always been what I consider a very traditional way. I consider regular jujitsu in the gi to be probably one of the most Socratic methods ever, right? Where you show a move, you explain why it happens, people ask you questions about, well, why do you put your hand there instead of there? And you kind of break it all down, and then everybody keeps going. And I believe that this Socratic method of teaching is why jujitsu continues not only to be a winning art, I'm talking about in terms of martial arts in general, but also an ever evolving art. Because as you ask more questions about this position, whatever, then you might see, oh, well, then that leads to that, or could lead to that, or there's a potential counter, or whatever. And I like that. The drilling based thing seems cool because it has some free flowing things, but I've always, and I still, there's a lot of things that I like about certain aspects of it. Um, I don't know, and I know there's arguments about what makes a blue belt or a purple belt or brown or black belt, but if I'm teaching a student pure drills, I'm still struggling to know how much they actually know. How do I know if they're a blue belt if they're learning only drills? How do I know if they understand the principles behind a move, if they're just kind of reacting based off the drills, but do they understand the why? I was curious, what are your thoughts around ecological jujitsu systems and ideas? And can they or should they be separate? Should they not be around, or should they be integrated with the Socratic method that most of us who grew up in the in the tradition of Brazilian
Well,
Jiu-Jitsu, Gracie
I
Jiu-Jitsu?
don't know too much about the ecological jiu-jitsu. From what I understand, it's a lot of just free rolling,
Right,
just learn on your own type thing,
right.
right? But is it positional free rolling, or is it
Yeah,
like 100% free rolling, or is it like figure it out from this position?
yeah, that's what it looks like. So they'll say, okay, so um we are in, I wish I had an actual drill in my brain right now. I feel like I'm failing to
But I
understand.
understand. No, you're very clear. It's from a position. You're
Right.
here. Figure out how to get out. So they don't
Right.
really
They'll be
teach.
like, and they'll give you a limit. Like you can't push the head, right? Like you
I
can't push
understand.
the head. Or you can, this person's trying to pass your guard and you're going to stop them, but you can't stand up. You stay seated and you're just preventing them encroaching you to a certain
I
degree.
understand. So it's like positional drills with some parameters,
Yes.
and those parameters are probably good because it helps you find other creative ways to deal with the problem. So I
Right.
really like that. Like when we were kids, we were told to train sometimes, but we had
Right.
to tie one arm in our belt.
Exactly. It's stuff like that.
There you
Yeah.
go. So I think that's really cool. I think that's very important, and I think it's very smart. And the way that it's being explained, I think they're doing way more than what we did as kids. We
Hmm.
were told, for example, lay on your back. You have to defend from your back, but you can't bridge. Keep your legs straight. I can't
Hmm.
move my legs. So it was inklings of what you're talking
Right, right,
about.
right, right.
So I think it's amazing and I appreciate it. And your question is how much of it we should do and how you know how someone is progressing if they're not being taught. So the answer
Yeah.
is absolutely people need to be taught things. And I think, and once they're taught, they need to also do what we do a lot, which is have an opportunity to train with somebody with like 50% resistance, with
Right.
both partners allowing the position and the lessons of the day to be applied on each
Right.
other,
Right.
to be used. So if I learn an armbar from someone's back and we're sparring and you don't let me get your back for the whole 5 minutes, it's cool, but I didn't get to practice it at that 50, 60%.
Right, 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 right,
So
right.
there's an element of like you letting me take your back for two reasons. One, you're helping me practice the armbar, but two, you're becoming more familiarized with how it feels to have somebody on your back and
Right.
go through the steps of catching the armbar. Because
Right.
you're going to also want to learn how to avoid the armbar from all different phases. Very early is avoid your back being taken.
Right.
And then mid range is once your back is taken, what do you want to do to get not get armbarred? And then some, further deeper counters when they're already closer to catching the arm.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
everybody wins when we flow through positions and we allow things to happen to us, whether that's a submission, a guard pass, a sweep, a side mount escape. So allowing jujitsu to happen allows everybody to win. So in terms of the student, how do you know how they're doing? I know how my students are doing based off of watching them with other people. I can see jujitsu.
Right.
I can see patience.
Right.
I can see position before submission mindset. I can
Mm.
see precision in a submission attempt. I can see these things. I can also roll with my student and feel the student,
Right.
right? I can give the student a lesson. I can talk to them about something and then release them to go train and watch them. And 25% of the time, the lesson's completely out in one ear, out the other. And then most of the time, though, I'm like, oh wow, they're
They're
applying
doing it.
the
Yeah,
lesson.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. They're letting it happen.
So these are things. But you're right. If all they're doing all day is exploring and discovering stuff on their own, there's a good chance that they're not getting the same amount of knowledge as somebody who's learning. Hey, practice this. Other side. So I feel like the ecological jiu-jitsu is a cool thing, but it's just part of what we need
Right.
to do.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. The thing that I think, because at least I think in more of the Nogi space, and again, I don't see it that often. I have a guy named Ryan Rich who's at Granite Bay Jiu Jitsu up. It's outside of Sacramento area, He's a real big proponent of it locally, and he teaches a lot of stuff. And I had one of his brown belts come and visited one time, and I asked them to teach like some drills that day, and everybody loved it. So like I don't have like big like red flags about it, you know what I mean? But I think because I came up under Half and Charles and Gumby, like and it worked, right? Like I don't like it's not that I don't want to try anything new, but like I don't want to I'm not going to just I feel like the rush toward the ecological way is throwing the baby out with the bathwater. Like there are some schools maybe in methodologies or aspects of methodologies that can seem too restrictive, but I'm not going to go so far in the other direction that we don't have structure that I'm not explaining why is the logic leveraging timing of this move? Where is the logic leveraging timing? How are we making it happen? Right? At what point does this holding on to this position become a detriment? You know what I mean? And things like that.
Yeah.
Um,
So much can be learned by you giving yourself permission to just go feel it and try it.
yeah.
Sometimes there can be too much talking, too many details, too much teaching. So I do feel like it's now when you're a beginner, like ecological jiu-jitsu, is that for someone who signs up? A guy is an attorney. He's
Yeah.
49 years old, has 4 kids, wants to practice jiu-jitsu. Does he go right into these drills?
I think so. I think they do. You know what I mean? I think they do, and they do that. Like when I talk with Ryan Rich, and I'll send you my talk with him, um, because it was a really good conversation. Um,
How
but
much resistance are people putting on these people who are coming in brand new? Like, are they going against purple belts? Are they resisting it
oh
100%?
no, this was ironically to your point. Part of what they were saying was that these drills and games are a way for a person to experience jujitsu without a lot of the hard roll frightening that can happen. You know what I mean? Like a lot of like in old school, if you came to house back in the day, you might get thrown to the wolves. You know what I mean? It was a rough time in 97. And so I think the and if you couldn't hang, then we would just shrug our shoulders and be like, he couldn't hang. But I think that the use of the games is to give them a physical experience, not high end fight worthy intensity, but then grasp an idea of what it means to be on your back, to roll a bit, to have somebody on you, but not like he's taking my arm, Fred. You know what I mean?
So are people submitting people in these games?
I think in most times they're not. It does seem to be more positional and like
There you
connection
go.
based, right? More connection based. But I think as you advance, it is don't
Yeah.
let the arm happen or defend the neck, whatever.
So if there's less submissions, and how hard is someone trying to escape the position? Because someone who's brand new, who works on a computer,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
they
yeah.
barely ever raise their arms above their head.
Exactly,
And now you're
exactly.
having this guy fight for his life to escape the bottom of side mount or to control somebody. They can very easily put their bodies in a position that can compromise the
Yeah,
shoulder.
yeah,
So the only way you'll truly know if it's working is if they have classes with 45, 50 people, and the
right.
demographic of those people are not just 19, 22-year-olds,
Yeah,
24-year-olds, but
yeah,
they're also full-grown 45, 55-year-old men, women,
yeah,
adults that are professionals, adults that don't want to compete in tournaments, adults
right.
that want to learn the art of jiu-jitsu. If they're getting half the people are like that in the room,
Yeah.
then I think they're doing great and they can keep
Yeah.
doing it.
Yeah, no, it's cool, man. I'll send you the talk. It's a really cool, deep conversation, man. And yeah, man, thank you so much. On the way out, I know you guys have the that cool thing you've been doing for why is my mind just freezing right now? The safe
Safe
rap?
route, safe route.
Yeah, dude, I think that's really cool because I've always been a big fan of the gift wrap. You know what I'm saying? The twisting arm control and loving it. Like talk about kind of how that
You're,
came up and talk about what you guys have next because we just haven't spoken recently. So if you have upcoming
yeah.
events and things like that.
So you're a fan of the gift wrap. It's not the gift wrap, right?
It's more.
It's more, yeah. You're no doubt you wrap one arm
Yeah,
around
yeah.
the person and you control the other arm. So
Yep.
we call it crossover arm control and
Yeah.
then crossover leg control.
Mm.
And basically, it's a 2-on-1 lateral restraint, method of control. Now, this could be for teachers in a school. This
Right.
could be for people in a hospital. This is for law enforcement. This is for anywhere, right? Public service. This is for
Right.
anywhere where two people may need to control one person
Right.
in the safest way possible. And it's been received very well, right? It deals with a few concerns that people have, which one is, for example, in law enforcement, when you pronate somebody,
Right.
everybody wants to roll the subject to his stomach. Why? Because you want to get his hands behind his back. But then they can hide their hands under their chest.
Right.
They can push off their hands to get up.
Get up. Right.
And they can reach for a weapon. If they have a knife, or if they have a gun, something you stash, they can reach for it. You can't see it. Safe wrap, you keep the person on their side. They can't push up.
Right. There's nowhere to go.
They can't hide their hands. And they can't, if they reach for a weapon, we can see it immediately because their waist is exposed.
Right.
And if they reach for it, we can address it accordingly.
I love it, man.
As well as other things like the pressure, for example,
Mm-hmm.
right? The weight that you put on somebody, right? It's like the
Yeah.
positional asphyxia. It's a very scary thing.
No, it happens
And
sometimes.
especially when someone has other conditions, right? That combined with 3 or 4 people on top of somebody for an extended period of time can be very dangerous. So it's extremely safe. You can do it on a child. If
Right.
they're on their side, you need to administer medicine. The child can be facing their parent,
Right.
holding the person somewhat like in a fetal position,
Right.
right?
Right.
Versus pinning someone's arms down on a
Yeah. So you
hospital
can get
bed.
to the vein. Right. It's like,
If you pin someone's arms, nobody feels safe with their arms being isolated away from their body. But
no.
with your arms wrapped around your body and your parent right in front of you, it's much better. It's a better option. It's a safer option. It's more humane,
Yeah.
right, for a
Yeah.
child. So I've done it to my children. They've wanted to, scratch and fight each other. I just
Yeah. You'd be like,
I just wrap up one kid.
yeah. No, that's really good, man. I
And I
encourage
talk to them.
people.
So obviously it's something that is, right now the goal is to get this. There are hospitals around the world that, there are nurses that want to learn this. There are firefighters, there are police officers.
That really need it, especially in the PDs, man. Like, you know
Yes,
what I mean? Like, and I gotta tell you, I for 2 years I was the coach at the USF Jiu-Jitsu club. Shout out to everybody at USF. Shout out to Professor Seiji, who's there now. And the thing that blew my mind the most about teaching jiu-jitsu at USF, I think more than 60% were from the nursing school. And I don't even know what that was. I used to wonder, why are all of these? But then I started thinking, like, because when a family member flips out, or a patient, right, pops
yes.
up tripping because of, whether they're psychotic situation or they're on drugs. And I was like, yeah, they actually need jujitsu. I had, it hadn't occurred to me that they would need jujitsu, but now it makes perfect sense. And I think that this is a great tool for them.
Thank you. And jujitsu, not only does it allow you to keep yourself safe, but it allows you to keep the person that is going through a mental episode or who's very emotional and who's attacking you safe.
Hmm.
Like, I'm one of the safest people you can get in a street fight with in the world.
Yeah.
Because what am I going to do to you? Punch you in the face 10 times and elbow you in the face and break your jaw and then
Yeah.
break your arm and put you to sleep? No. I'm going to take you down, control you for 2 minutes. You're going to get tired. I'm going to start talking to you and I'm going to say, hey, it's unfortunate the way things went. We're here now. I'm on top of you in a Home Depot parking lot.
Yeah,
You know what I
exactly.
mean? But are we done here? Can we go home?
Do we all go home and
You
just
know what
just
I mean? And that guy's
exactly.
extremely safe. Where if that same guy fought another Home Depot customer, a regular Home Depot customer, the two of them are going to have to throw every punch in the book that they can and
Exactly.
scratch and headbutt and bite and anything that they
Yep.
can do because they don't know how to fight. So when you know how to fight, you can protect the person you're fighting.
Yeah. No, man. And
Teaching
that and,
nurses
and
these
that's a
skills.
huge deal. That's a huge deal, man. Before I go, I have a really good friend named Yahya. He went to Osaka, and I said, "Man, bring me back some incense." I collect incense from Japanese temples. I ain't been there yet, and so anytime someone tells me they're going to Japan, I'd be like, "Man, go if you go to a temple, just bring me the incense. I don't care what it smells like. I just want it to be from the temple. Just tell me where." And I have this. I have a. I have a. I have this bag of incense from all these different temples. Yeah. And so like this is from the Temple of the Rice God right here, from one of my students. And I have this is from Sengakuji Temple. This is the Temple of the 47 Ronin. You know what I'm saying? And so I collected. So he was supposed to go get me some, but he was in Osaka. And
Oh, he went to the jiu-jitsu school.
he was like, I feel like I wanted to get you something original, and I knew you would love this. And so I'm getting these put on. I got a brand new all white gi that I'm gonna put these on, and it's gonna be my new favorite gi. You know what I'm saying? My
You
new.
know, wear the Osaka patch on your gi. You haven't even been there though.
No, I gotta go. I gotta go. So that's the thing. It's like it means that I have to go. That's what the
Well,
patch means.
and when you go, you show up with that gi on.
I know. I've
And
already thought about it.
the guys from Osaka, the team from there, the main instructors, they came
Yeah.
to the event in Brazil.
Oh man. Yeah, dude.
You could
Yeah,
have been with them. You could have been training with the guys,
dude. That's so crazy.
having acai bowls on the beach with the guys from Osaka. And then they would have took you to the temple when you went to the temple a year later.
So I'm so excited, but I'm really grateful to my friend Yaya for doing that, and I look forward to getting that on my gi and finding my way to Osaka. Hopefully before the end of 26, man. That's my goal. That's my goal.
Oh,
All
well, when
right.
you want to go, let me know. I'll set you up with the guys there.
Yes, sir. Well, thank you again for your time and your wisdom. Are you coming to the Bay anytime soon?
I have no plans, but I was just recently there for like a random quick day. I went for something,
Oh, really? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but
It's
no
all
plans
good.
to
Well,
go.
it's all right. I'm so overdue on finding my way to LA that I just need to make the pilgrimage,
Well,
man.
come to Gracie University. Come hang out for like 2 or 3 days.
I will, bro. I will.
Um,
I will do that probably right after February. I'll come down. I'll come down.
let's make it happen. Let me know. Yeah.
All right, man. Have a blessed one. Thank you for everything. And if you haven't been to Gracie University.com, you need to go there and get some amazing techniques because the Mount seminar that you did in Stockport, you know, the techniques on Grace University, like I use them all the time. They're just so helpful. They're so helpful. They're so helpful. And so thank you, man. All
Thank
right.
you, bro. I
Okay.
appreciate you. All the best. Thank you so
All
much.
right. Thank you.
You see